Most of the roles I got, people came after me. Universal, I helped write the pictures, put them on, so I never experienced that.
Don Knotts, the beloved TV icon, left behind a legacy that touched millions. Now, at 71, his daughter Karen Knotts has stepped forward with a heartbreaking revelation about her father. What painful truths had been hidden all these years? And could this stunning confession reshape how the world remembers him? As the truth unfolds, fans are left reeling. Join us as we uncover the secret that could forever change Don Knotts' legacy and the way we see this comedy legend. Don Knotts and the Andy Griffith Show. In 1960, Don Knotts watched the pilot episode of a brand new television show starring his old friend Andy Griffith. As he sat there, an idea popped into his head. Simple but clever. Don quickly picked up the phone and called Andy. In a light-hearted way, he told him the show needed a deputy, and he was just the right person for the job. Andy chuckled at the thought, but also saw something special in the idea. Without wasting time, he introduced Don to the producers, and everything changed from there. At the beginning of the Andy Griffith Show, the plan was for Andy to be the funny one, while Don played things seriously. This was based on how they had worked together before in No Time for Sergeants. But as the show went on, it became clear that it was even funnier when Don took on the silly, nervous character, while Andy stayed calm and steady. Andy himself admitted many times later that Don was meant to be the show's true comedian. At first, Don believed the show would only last about 5 seasons because Andy had once mentioned he planned to stop after that. With that in mind, Don started to look for new opportunities. He soon signed a deal to make 5 movies with Universal Studios. But then something unexpected happened. Andy changed his mind and decided to keep the show going. By then, Don had already committed to his new path. In 1965, Don left the Andy Griffith Show with his character Barney Fife, leaving Mayberry for a new job in Raleigh, North Carolina. During his years on the show, Don's performance was so loved that he won 5 Emmy Awards for playing Barney. Though he was grateful for his time in Mayberry and his friendship with Andy, Don felt ready to chase his dream of making movies and hosting his own TV shows.
Don't just jerk it out. That's dangerous. Smoothly and safely.
Don appeared in several films after leaving Mayberry, including The Ghost and Mr. Chicken, The Incredible Mr. Limpet, and The Reluctant Astronaut. Sadly, these movies didn't shine as brightly as his TV work. In 1970, he launched The Don Knotts Show, a variety program he hosted himself. Even with high hopes, the show struggled because other popular programs were airing at the same time. Although he didn't quite reach all the dreams he had hoped for, Don Knotts remained a beloved figure in show business. This show brought to the spotlight, but trouble lurked behind it, mostly in his marriage. What happened? And how did he find love through it all? Stick with us. The bittersweet love story. When Catherine Metz met Don Knotts, it was clear they came from very different worlds. Catherine grew up in a quiet, proper home with a minister for a father. She was smart, kind, and had perfect manners. Don, on the other hand, was thin and often nervous. His childhood was full of struggles, but he carried with him a quick wit and a special gift for making people laugh. Even though they were so different, Don's humor and charm caught Catherine's heart. He had a way of making her laugh that no one else could. At that time, Catherine was already engaged to someone else, but Don's kindness and joy made her see life in a new way. Soon after they met, Catherine called off her engagement and started a new chapter with Don. They married 2 years later, bound by love, but also by Don's big dreams. From when he was young, Don wanted to be an entertainer. He longed to make people laugh and leave a mark on the world through show business. In 1949, with only $100 in their pockets, Don and Catherine moved to New York City. They left behind their quiet life to chase a dream. Don had tried before and failed, but this time he was determined to try again. The city was tough. Don faced rejection after rejection. People said he was awkward, nervous, and not meant for show business. Even his well-prepared comedy, which had made soldiers and students laugh, didn't catch on. But Don never gave up. He kept searching for chances, taking small roles on radio shows to slowly build his career. His big break came with The Andy Griffith Show. His perfect on-screen friendship with Andy Griffith brought joy and laughter to many homes, making them one of TV's most loved comedy teams. While Don's career was growing, his home life was struggling. Catherine had a hard time fitting into the social world around the show. Rumors said she didn't get along with Andy's wife or others connected to the cast. Over time, Don and Catherine grew apart. Long hours and Don's rising fame meant less time for family. After 13 years of marriage and 2 children, Don and Catherine quietly separated. Some say fame's pressure pulled them apart. Others believe deeper troubles in their relationship played a part. The charming heartbreaker. Even though Don Knotts went through a painful divorce in his first marriage, he didn't wait long before stepping back into the world of dating. On screen, Don often played shy and awkward characters, but behind the scenes, he was surprisingly popular with women in Hollywood. Despite his nervous laugh and slim build, there was something about him that women found irresistible. Maybe it was his quick wit, kind heart, or the way he made everyone feel special when he talked to them. In the late 1960s, Don was shining brighter than ever. He decided to try something new by starring in a comedy film called The Love God in 1969. This role was very different from his famous part as Barney Fife on The Andy Griffith Show. In the movie, Don played a magazine owner who turns his business into a bold and daring success, becoming a popular bachelor along the way. Don wanted to show a different side of himself, one that was cooler and more confident. Some people liked Don's brave new look, but most viewers found it hard to see him as a heartthrob. The movie struggled in theaters, and some places even refused to show it. Fans preferred the funny, lovable character they knew from Mayberry rather than this new, smooth version. Still, Don didn't let the movie's failure stop him. He kept moving forward. Rumors said Andy Griffith, Don's longtime friend, felt jealous of Don's growing popularity with women. But Don stayed calm and didn't let gossip bother him. He kept a good heart toward Andy. As time went on, Don fully embraced the lively Hollywood life. He took small acting roles, went to parties with friends, and even tried his hand at music by releasing a disco album under the name DJ Don Juan. But with the fun came some trouble. Don began risky behaviors, including substance abuse, and his life became chaotic. Thankfully, he realized the danger and chose to get help by going to rehab. By the 1980s, Don was back on track. He stayed sober, felt better, and returned to making people laugh with his comedy. After many passionate relationships, Don found love again with Lori Chuchna. They kept their relationship private, and it seemed Don was ready to settle down. But life brought a new challenge. Don started losing his eyesight. It became hard for him to read, drive, and recognize faces. Doctors told him he had macular degeneration, a serious eye disease that could cause blindness. This news was a heavy blow. It affected not only his sight, but also his career and way of life. His sadness affected those close to him, especially his wife, Lori. As they neared 10 years together, Don's health problems and growing frustration pushed their marriage to its end in 1983. But Don's story didn't end in sadness. A life-saving surgery helped him regain his sight and gave him a fresh start. In this new chapter, Don met someone very special. In 1987, while working on a TV show called What a Country, Don met Frances Yarborough, a young actress hired to help him memorize lines. They quickly became close. Frances loved Don's kind and open nature, even with their big age difference. They fell in love and married in 2002. Don was in his 70s then, but their love was strong. Though their time as a married couple was short, people who knew them spoke of a rare and deep connection. Maybe Don finally found the peace he had long been searching for. Now, let's go back a little to where Don was Don. From the beginning before stardom, what made him into the fan-famous Don? Let's dive in. The Hard Childhood. Before Don Knotts became a beloved comedy star in America, winning 5 Emmy Awards for his funny wide-eyed looks and jittery moves, he was just Jesse Donald Knotts. He came from Morgantown, West Virginia, where life was full of hardships and sadness right from the start. Don's early years were tough, and those struggles left deep marks on his heart. He was the 4th son in his family. His mother, Elsie Luzetta Knotts, was 40 when she had him. Don wasn't expected, and his arrival brought extra challenges to the family. His dad, William Jesse Knotts, used to be a hard-working farmer, but battled mental health problems and alcoholism. Just before Don was born, the family lost their farm. Life at home was often wild and scary. The Knotts house was a place of fear. Don's father could get angry and violent, sometimes even waving a knife.
Grandfather had some mental problems, and he wasn't able to work on the farm anymore.
When this happened, young Don would hide, trying to stay safe. His childhood wasn't filled with warmth or comfort. To escape the fear, Don created a happier world inside his mind, a place full of fun and kindness, very different from the real one. Don's older brothers, Willis, William, and Ralph, who went by Sid, were much older. They had their own struggles with drinking and sometimes treated Don harshly, but Don looked up to them, especially Sid. Sid was funny and full of charm, someone who could light up a room. To Don, Sid was more than a brother. He was a hero. Tragedy struck when Don's dear friend Sid passed away suddenly from a bad asthma attack. Don was heartbroken and felt a deep sadness that never fully left him. To cope, Don found comfort in a special friend, a ventriloquist dummy named Danny. Danny wasn't just a toy, he was Don's partner in a private world of laughter. Together, they put on little shows, making others smile, even if it was only in Don's room at first. As Don grew older, he became more outgoing. At Morgantown High School, he showed off the humor and smarts that would one day make him famous. He was well-liked and even became class president. But beneath the smiles, Don still felt the pain of his past. He often felt out of place, poor, and uneasy. That feeling of not belonging stayed with him. Don never let go of his love for performing. He loved the thrill of the stage.
So the tension was off as far as seeing it for the first time is concerned.
And becoming different characters. After high school, he made up his mind. He would chase a career in entertainment. So, with dreams in his heart, his dummy Danny by his side, and courage in his step, Don set off for New York City when he was just 18. The big city was tough. His first audition didn't go well. New York wasn't easy, and it seemed like success might never come. But Don refused to give up. His hard childhood had made him strong. It taught him to dream of something better, even when times were tough. How Don Knotts built his dream. Don Knotts left behind his tough childhood to start fresh. Instead of running away from the troubles of World War II, he saw it as a chance to change his life. Joining the United States Army wasn't just about fitting in. It was his way to find a new purpose. Little did he know, the Army would become his very first stage to perform in front of a live audience. Don had a special job in the military. He wasn't on the battlefield, but part of the 6,817th Special Services Battalion. Their mission, to lift soldiers' spirits with comedy and entertainment. Don's job was to make the troops laugh, and he was really good at it. He traveled all over the Pacific, performing skits and jokes for soldiers far from home. This gave Don a taste of the magic of being on stage. He loved hearing the laughter and feeling like he was bringing joy, even if just for a little while. Though Don never faced direct danger in combat, his time in the Army changed him a lot. When he left the service in 1946, he was no longer just a small-town boy. He had become a confident performer with awards to show for his service, like the World War II Victory Medal and the Philippine Liberation Medal. More than that, the Army gave him strength and a clearer dream for his future. Back home, Don went to West Virginia University. Now a veteran, he saw school in a new light. He had stories to tell, knowledge to share, and a strong wish to get better at what he loved. He studied education with a focus on speech, joined the Phi Sigma Kappa fraternity, and jumped into many performances. College became a place where Don grew inside, gained confidence, and learned how to charm an audience. But school wasn't all he cared about. Don also found love with Kay Metz, who gave him comfort and friendship. After finishing school and marrying Kay, Don packed up his hopes, his puppet Danny, and set off again to New York City. This time, things were different. His Army experience and new skills helped open doors little by little. In New York, Don worked hard in small comedy clubs, making people laugh in front of small crowds. Slowly, he started to build his name. He got a steady job on a radio show called Bobby Benson and the B-Bar B-Writers. He played Windy Wales, a fast-talking side character. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills and kept him doing what he loved. In 1953, Don took a big step onto television with a role in the soap opera Search for Tomorrow. He stayed on the show for 2 years, learning how to connect with viewers across the country. Even though he dreamed of the stage and making people laugh, Don knew every small part was a step closer to his big dream. Then, in 1956, a big break came. Don joined The Steve Allen Show, a famous TV variety program. He formed a comedy duo and created a quirky, nervous character for fake interviews on the show. Viewers loved this shaky, anxious guy because it felt real. Don turned his own nervousness and self-doubt into something funny and unforgettable. Around this time, Don met Andy Griffith, who was also rising in fame. They worked together in a Broadway play called No Time for Sergeants. Don played 2 funny roles, an innocent preacher and a clumsy corporal named Manuel Dexterity.
What we do here, Private, is to evaluate your manual dexterity on a time scale in relation to digital visual coordination.
Their chemistry on stage was easy, and the audience loved it. The play became a movie in 1958, and Don was invited to reprise his part, winning hearts again with his unique charm. Most of Don's roles showed him as the scared, funny sidekick, while others were the heroes. But he never let that bother him. He knew every laugh he earned was a small victory. On The Steve Allen Show, Don showed people how funny being nervous and clumsy could be. Soon, bigger opportunities were waiting for him. Don Knotts didn't become a star overnight. His rise was slow, built on steady steps, brave auditions, and never giving up. While his career was booming, Don struggles physical and mentally. What finally pulled him down? Let's see what his final days were like. A smile hiding the storm. Don Knotts made so many people laugh with his funny talent, but inside he was quietly fighting hard battles. Before he became famous in the 1960s, Don struggled a lot with anxiety. Even though he acted as nervous and jumpy characters on TV, his real fears were not funny at all. At the start of his career, Don was scared of even small things. Sometimes, he was so afraid he couldn't get out of bed. It could take him hours just to feel brave enough to face an audience. At his lowest times, he stayed in bed for days, weighed down by his own worries. The people watching him laugh on stage didn't know he was feeling those same fears deep inside. As his career grew, so did his inner struggles. In the 1950s, doctors gave Don medicine to help with his anxiety, which was common for actors then. Hollywood seemed glamorous on the outside, but many stars were hiding their pain. Don started to depend too much on the medicine meant to help him. What started as help became a problem. He got stuck in a cycle, using medicine to calm his fears, but then struggling with needing more and more. Don's worries didn't stop with anxiety. He was also scared of being sick, a condition called hypochondria. Even when he was healthy, he felt like he might be very ill. Any little ache made him think something was wrong. This fear made everyday life hard. It was tough for him to keep good friendships or do well at work, even though he tried to get help. The fear of illness followed him everywhere he went. Even with all these tough feelings, Don still found success. He became well known, earned money, and won many fans. But no amount of fame could erase the pain from his childhood or the scars inside him. When he was alone, those fears would creep back. Don once told his therapist he even felt angry at God as he searched for peace inside. Though his life seemed perfect to others, he still felt incomplete sometimes. Anxiety caused other problems too. Don had a hard time sleeping. Night after night, he lay awake with his mind racing and fears growing. Behind his happy, funny face, he often hid sadness, loneliness, and tiredness. Don also picked up some unhealthy habits. Like many stars then, he smoked cigarettes. Smoking was everywhere in Hollywood, and few worried about the dangers. Don smoked for years, maybe to help ease his stress. When people learned more about smoking's risks, he quit, but the damage was already done. In the early 2000s, Don was told he had lung cancer, a painful reminder of those past choices. Even as his health got worse, Don stayed hopeful. He had faced many hard things before and believed he could face this too. To protect his children from worry, he didn't tell them how serious his illness was. Through everything, Don kept focusing on making others laugh and sharing joy, even while carrying his own heavy feelings. As the cancer grew, Don tried chemotherapy, but it didn't work. His body got weaker, and by 2006, it was clear he couldn't beat the disease. Still, Don kept his humor alive. He told jokes and lifted the spirits of those around him. Laughter had always been his way to handle tough times. That year, his eyesight got worse because of macular degeneration, almost making him blind. He only did a few live TV shows near the end, but those moments were special and unforgettable. He enjoyed his last roles, like giving his voice in the movie Air Buddies, which came out just before he passed away. Don Knotts passed away on February 24th, 2006, at the age of 81.
Actor Don Knotts, who died on Friday at the age of 81.
He was at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles before choosing to go home as he became weaker. Even as his body failed, Don found comfort in his family and friends who stayed by his side. His courage shone bright until the very end. The bond between Don Knotts and Andy Griffith. Before Don Knotts and Andy Griffith became famous together, a special friendship was already growing between them. From the moment they started working side by side, it was clear they clicked in a way that was rare. Don's lively, quirky humor was a perfect match for Andy's calm and thoughtful nature. This mix of energy and calm made their partnership shine, especially on The Andy Griffith Show.
I don't blame him, Barney. With that lipstick all over your face, you do look kind of sweet.
Both men shared Southern roots, which gave them many stories and jokes to share, not just with each other, but with their viewers too. Their friendship went far beyond just being co-stars. Even with busy work schedules, they spent lots of time together, building a bond that felt more like family than just co-workers. Andy once said that Don held a very special place in his heart, more than some of the closest people in his life. They laughed together, helped each other through hard times, and became a big part of each other's worlds. When Don decided to leave The Andy Griffith Show, there were no hard feelings at all. Andy knew about Don's plans before anyone else did. Don wanted to try new things in movies, and Andy didn't just understand, he cheered him on. Andy believed in Don's talent and was sure he would succeed. Even though they wouldn't be working together every day anymore, their friendship stayed strong and unbreakable. Their connection lasted for many years after the show ended. Both men had rough childhoods in the South and grew up during the hard times of the Great Depression. They worked their way up from small stages to Broadway, and then to national TV fame. Through all of life's ups and downs, their friendship stayed true. Even as their careers changed and they faced new challenges, Andy and Don stayed close until Don's passing in 2006. Their friendship was real, simple, and full of respect. People watching their shows could feel the warmth between them. It wasn't just acting, it was a true bond. Their story reminds us that some friendships, built on trust and kindness, last a lifetime. What did his daughter expose about Don? What change will it have on his legacy? Let's dive in. The last laugh through his daughter's eyes. Don Knotts was a man who loved to make people laugh, and that joy stayed with him his whole life. From the very start of his career until his final days, his heart was in comedy. While many stars chase fame and awards, for Don, those things were never the most important. What mattered most to him was the simple, pure happiness that came from making others smile. No matter how serious or sad a moment might be, Don had a special way of adding humor to light up the room. Even during his last days, when his health was failing and illness was taking its toll, Don held tightly to what he loved most, making people laugh. His daughter, Karen Knotts, shared a touching story that shows how strong his love for humor was. While Don was in the hospital, surrounded by family and friends, he still found ways to crack jokes and bring laughter into a room filled with worry and sadness. His quick wit didn't fade. It shone through until the very end. Karen remembers one moment clearly, when Don said something so funny that she and her stepmother couldn't stop laughing. The serious, quiet mood suddenly changed into one filled with joy. Karen felt so overwhelmed with happiness that she had to leave the room, not because she was sad, but because she was laughing so hard that she didn't want to do it right in front of her father. Later, she felt a little guilty for leaving and told the family friend and director Howard Storm. He reminded her that what Don wanted most was for them to stay, laugh, and enjoy those precious moments together. Don's humor was never an act or something he forced. It was a natural gift that came from deep inside him. He once said that being funny wasn't something he planned. It just happened naturally, like breathing. This relaxed and charming way of being made people love him not just as an actor, but as a person. His humor was real, and it connected him to audiences everywhere. As Don's life came to a close, his instinct to bring joy didn't slow down. His daughter says that laughter was part of who he was, spontaneous, effortless, and always ready to brighten the day. That natural spark is what made Don Knotts so unforgettable. He left this world still sharing smiles and laughter, reminding us all how powerful a simple joke can be. One last goodbye, Andy. Although time and distance slowly pulled Andy Griffith and Don Knotts apart, the deep friendship they built during the Andy Griffith Show never truly faded. Life took them in different directions, but the bond they shared quietly stayed in their hearts, waiting for the right moment to show itself again. And in Don's final days, that connection came back with warmth and meaning. Andy Griffith made sure to be there for Don Knotts when he was at UCLA Medical Center. He knew he needed to say goodbye to his dear friend before it was too late. Even though many years had passed since their show ended and they didn't talk as often as they once did, their friendship stayed strong, untouched by time. Andy sat beside Don's hospital bed, speaking to him softly and offering words of comfort. Don wasn't able to speak anymore, but Andy believed his friend could still hear and feel him there. In that quiet hospital room, Andy called Don by a name that very few people knew, Jess. It was Don's real name, one he rarely shared, but it was special to Andy. Using that name in those tender final moments was Andy's way of reaching back into their past, reminding Don of the beautiful friendship they had. Andy saw Don's shoulder move slightly when he gently told him to take a breath. It was a small, quiet sign, but it meant everything. That little movement told Andy that Don was still with him, that their connection was still alive, even without words. It was a silent but powerful message between two friends who had once filled people's homes with laughter. Later, Andy admitted he knew the end was near. The doctors had given the family sad news, and though Andy wished for more time, he understood what was coming. Still, what mattered most was that he was there, and Don knew it. Their friendship had lasted through so many years, and in the final, most important moment, it returned just in time for one last loving goodbye. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.